All right. Testing. Testing. 1, 2. Okay. All right. I guess it only captures sound. Perfect. Okay. All right. All right. Man, those hard cuts.
Help me. Elizabeth Selwyn, on this 3rd day of March, in the year of our Lord 1692, we, the people of Whitewood, Massachusetts, condemn thee as a witch. May the flames cleanse thy soul of its evil, of its lust for blood, but may they bring about the death of Abigail Adams. Help her, Lucifer. Help her.
I have made my pact with the Lucifer.
Yo, what's up, Sinks? Okay, so turns out I'm still okay. Heads up, we've detected. What is it saying? Heads up, we have detected video in your stream belonging to someone else. Your stream may be when you turn on content ID matching. Okay, because content ID doesn't claim videos from channels linked to your content manager. You can't add these channels to your allow list. Individual assets can't be added to your allow list. Only channels can be added. Wow. Best practices: if you're using Content ID to manage your content, you must adhere to its policies, which include restrictions on what content you can claim. Incorrectly claiming content that you don't even own can cause issues. Yikes. Well. Okay, well, I guess I stopped it, but it's still showing. Man, this is bogus. Hello, public. Is that what it's saying my name is? No, it was supposed to be public domain, but I guess I still got a warning from YouTube regarding that. So that sucks. Oh man, oh man. You want me to search for the 8 foot tall woman? Oh, what? Yeah. So what is? I don't understand if those films are located within the public domain. What is the deal? I don't understand. Because supposedly the film we were watching was a probably just a channel that uploaded. Oh man. Hmm. I guess I should upload those movies. You know what I mean? I think that would be great. If I upload the movies on my other channel, maybe I get to watch them. After all, why not me? Hmm. The story is by Snarled. Snarled? What do you mean? Hmm. Hmm. Of the 8 foot tall woman? Okay, well let's look into that. Let's see what that is all about. Hmm. Hold on. This is a little interesting. Okay, let's see. Oh, let's go, little bro. Okay. The 8 foot tall woman. I'll get to it, all right? But I found this interesting article that says 40 years ago, Nintendo Classic kickstarted a genre that's more popular than ever. Imagine yourself running through dark corridors on an alien planet. For a moment, there's no sound but the clank of your metal boots, a passageway floors carved from stone, and the slow drip of water somewhere in the distance. You know that that won't last long. You'll meet an alien life form eventually, and the encounter won't go well. But in the meantime, you're stocking up on supplies, energy upgrades for starters, and maybe the odd new ability or two that will change everything. You're playing Metroid, which debuted on the Famicom Disk System in Japan 40 years ago today. At the time, we just was just one more very good adventure title from a studio in the midst of building a reputation for such things. Over the years, however, Nintendo's bold experiment would inspire numerous limiters and become known as the basis for something we love more than ever, Metroidvania. Okay, the original Metroid introduces players to a space bounty hunter named Samus Aran, whose work to recover important organisms known as Metroids would have been stolen by enterprising space pirates. In the wrong hands, which is where they now find themselves, those life draining entities might be used as devastating biological weapons to threaten the safety of the entire galaxy. To defeat the thieving pirates and their schemes, Samus must disable their defenses, which are operated by a powerful intelligence system called Mother Brain. Although the plot isn't interesting and established lore that eventually expanded to serve as the basis for numerous additional games, including the Metroid Prime Quartet. Metroid's true appeal lies in its gameplay. Nintendo's development team created an action game set within a non-linear world that offered multiple paths to success. In some ways, it feels like a more action packed take on the sandbox style The Legend of Zelda offered a short time earlier, now viewed from the side. However, there were no levels to speak of, just a hostile environment to wander and conquer on the way to the final showdown. At the onset, Samus Aran has few weapons at her disposal. The task placed before her seems almost insurmountable. In those early days of the medium, the game's scale felt absolutely incredible. Developers were still releasing new titles that only occupied a single screen or featured discrete environments that didn't linger long at all. Then there was Metroid, scrolling every which way and presenting constant twists and turns to which way and was it to say nothing of passages you could find but not reach. Locating players tested the limits of those new abilities, thrilling the unearthed. Okay, it's possible to complete Metroid Prime in fewer than 20 minutes. Okay. Metroid was a big deal, eventually, alongside the later games like Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Okay, but I don't understand. That's not a. Dadgummit, I thought they were gonna say something new. Oh, let's go, little bro. Oh, you're going to bed. Okay. No big deal. Okay, I thought that was interesting, but it's just bananas. Oh man, can't believe I wasted my life. I wasted a portion of my life reading that article. Dadgummit. Okay, so we're gonna read about the 8 foot tall lady and then do some happy wheels. So where's the 8 foot tall lady? Come on. Okay. Okay. Uh, thank you, little homie. Appreciate it. Hope you have a good night. All right. So the 8 foot tall woman. What am I looking at? What is this? Okay, so according to Reddit, the 8 foot tall or Hachishakusama Hachisa Haki Shakusama Hakishakusama is a Japanese urban legend about a tall woman who abducts children. She is 8 feet tall, wears a long white dress, and makes a sound like pa 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 pa. My grandparents lived in Japan every summer. My parents would take me there on a holiday to visit them. They lived in a small village and they had a big backyard and I loved to play there during the summer. When we arrived, my grandparents always welcomed me with open arms. I was their only grandchild, so they spoiled me. My grandparents lived in Japan. Every summer, my parents would take me there on a holiday to visit them. Okay, wow. The last time I saw them was the summer when I was 8 years old. As usual, my parents booked a flight to Japan and we drove from the airport to my grandparents' house. They were delighted to see me and had a lot of little presents to give me. My parents wanted to have some time to by themselves, so after a few days, they took a trip to another part of Japan, leaving me in the care of my grandma and grandpa. One day, I was playing out in the backyard. My grandparents were inside the house. It was a hot summer's day, and I lay down on the grass to rest. I stared up at the clouds and enjoyed the feeling of the soft rays of the sun and the gentle breeze. Just as I was about to get up, I heard a strange sound. Up, 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 up. I didn't know what it was, and it was hard to figure out where it was coming from. It sounded almost like somebody was making the noises themselves, as if they were just saying "pop, pop, pop" over and over again in a deep masculine voice. I was looking around searching for the source of the noise when I suddenly noticed something on top of the tall hedges that enclosed the backyard. It was the straw hat. It wasn't resting on a hedge, it was behind it. That's where the sound was coming from. Up, 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 up. Then the hat began to move, as if someone was wearing it. The hat stopped at a small gap in the hedge, and I could see a face peering through. It was a woman, but the hedges were high, almost 8 feet tall. I was surprised at how the woman was. I wonder if she was wearing stilts or some sort of huge high heel shoes. Then, a split second later, she walked off, and the strange noise disappeared with her, fading into the distance. Nice. Bewildered, I got up and I wandered back into the house. My grandparents were in the kitchen drinking tea. I sat down at the table, and after a while, I told my grandparents that I had seen what I had seen. They weren't really paying attention to me until I mentioned the distinctive sound puh, 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 puh. As soon as I said that, both of them suddenly froze. Grandma's eyes grew wide and she covered her mouth with her hand. Grandpa's face became very serious and he grabbed me by the arm. "This is very important," he said in an intense voice. "You must tell us exactly how tall she was." "As tall as the garden hedge," I replied, beginning to get scared. My grandparents bombarded me with questions. Where was she standing? When did this happen? What did you do? Did she see you? I tried to answer all of these questions as best as I could. He suddenly rushed out of the hallway and I made a phone call. What? I tried to answer all of his questions as best as I could. He suddenly rushed out of the hallway and made a phone call. I couldn't hear what he was saying. I looked over at my grandma and she was trembling. Grandpa came barging back to the room and spoke to me, to my grandmother. "I've got to go for a while," he said. "You stay here with the child. Don't take your eyes off him for a second." "What's going on, Grandpa?" I cried. He looked at me with a sad expression in his eyes and said, "You've been liked by the Hachishaku-sama." With that, he hurried out and got into his truck and drove off. I turned to my grandmother and cautiously asked, "Who is Hachishaku-sama?" "Don't worry," she replied in a shaking voice. My grandpa will do something. There's no need for you to worry." As we sat nervously in the kitchen waiting for my grandfather to come back, she explained what was happening. She told me there was a dangerous thing that was hunting the area. They called it Hachi Shakusama because of its height. In Japanese, Hachi Shakusama means 8 feet tall. It takes on the appearance of an extremely tall woman and it makes sounds like pa 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 in a deep male voice. It appears slightly different depending on who sees it. Some say it looks like a haggard old woman in a kimono, depending on who. Okay, and others say it is a girl in a white funeral shroud. One thing that never changes is the height and the sound it makes. A long time ago, it was captured by monks, and they managed to confine it in a ruined building on the outskirts of the village. They trapped it using four small religious statues called jitzos. That place at the north, south, east, and west of the ruins, and it wasn't supposed to be able to move from from there. Somehow it managed to escape. The last time it appeared was 15 years ago. My grandmother said that anyone who saw 8 foot tall was destined to die within a few days. It is it all sounded so crazy I wasn't sure who to believe. When Grandpa came back, there was an there was an old woman with him. She introduced herself as Kei-san and handed me a small crumpled piece of parchment, saying, "Here, take this and hold it." Then she and Grandpa went upstairs to do something. I was left alone in the kitchen with my grandmother again. I needed to go to the toilet. Granny followed me to the bathroom and wouldn't let me shut the door. I was beginning to get really frightened by all of this. By all this. After a while, Grandpa and Kei-san took me upstairs and brought me into my bedroom. The windows were covered in newspaper and lots of ancient runes had been written on them. There were small bowls of salt in all four corners of the room, and a small Buddha figure placed at the center of the room on top of a wooden box. There was also a bright blue bucket. What's the bucket for? I asked. That's for your pee and poo, Grandpa replied. Keisan sat me down on the bed and said, soon the sun will be setting, so listen carefully. You must stay in the room until tomorrow morning. You must not come out under any circumstances until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Your grandmother and your grandfather will not speak to you or call you until then. Remember, do not leave the room for any reason until then. I will let your parents know what is going on. She spoke in such a grave tone that all I could do was quietly nod my head. You have to follow Keisan's instructions to the letter, Grandpa told me, and never let go of the parchment she gave you. And if anything happens, pray to Buddha and make sure you lock this door when we leave. They walked out in the hallway, and after saying goodbye to them, I closed the bedroom door and locked it. Oh man, let's go. We have Zinx and John. Oh my goodness, this is a whole book. I turned on the TV and tried to watch, but I was so nervous. I felt sick to my stomach. Grandma had left some snacks and rice balls for me, but I couldn't eat them. I felt like I was in prison. Prison. And I was very there's also a video, my guy. Oh heck yeah, dude. Well, I'm already committed to this. When I after 1 a.m., all of a sudden I realized that what? I realized that something was tapping on the window. Tap, 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 tap. I felt the blood draining from my face, and my heart skipped a beat. I desperately tried to calm myself down, trying to tell myself if it was just the wind playing tricks on, or maybe the branches of the trees. I turned up the volume on the TV to drown out the tapping noise. Eventually, it stopped altogether. That was when I heard Grandma calling me. Are you okay in there? He asked. If you're scared, you don't have to stay in there all alone. I can come in and keep you company. I smiled and rushed over to the door, but then I stopped in my tracks. I had goosebumps all over my body. It sounded like Grandpa's voice, but somehow it was different. I couldn't tell what was, but I just knew. What are you doing? Grandpa asked. You can open the door now. I glanced to my left and a chill went down my spine. The salt in the bowls was slowly turning black. I backed away from the door. My whole body was trembling with fear. I fell to my knees in front of the Buddha statue and clutched the piece of parchment tightly in my hands. I started desperately praying for help. Please save me from Hachi Hakusama. I waited. Then I heard the voice outside the door saying, "Pa, pa, 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 pa." The tapping on the window started up again. I was overcoming my fear, and I crouched there in front of the statue, half crying and half praying for the rest of the night. I felt like it would never end, but eventually it was morning. The salt in all four bowls was pitch black. I checked my watch. It was 7:30 a.m. I cautiously opened the door. Grandma and Keisan were standing outside waiting for me. When she saw my face, Grandma burst into tears. I'm so glad you're still alive, she said. I went downstairs and was surprised to see my father and mother still sitting in the kitchen. Grandpa came in and said, hurry up, we got to get going. We went to the front door, and there was a large black van waiting in the driveway. Several men from the village were standing around it. pointing at me and whispering, "That's the boy." The van was a nine-seater, and they put me in the middle, surrounded by eight men. Kaysen was in the driver's seat. The man on my left, looked down at me and said, "You've got yourself in quite a spot of trouble. I know you're probably worried. Just keep your head down and your eyes shut. We can't see it, but you can. Don't open your eyes until we've got your safely out of here." Grandma drove in front of my dad's car, was following behind. When everyone was ready, our little convoy started moving. We were going fairly slow, around 20 kilometers per hour, or maybe less. After a while, Kaysan said, "This is this is where it gets," and started muttering a prayer under her breath. That was when I heard the voice, "Pup, pup, 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 pup." I clutched the parchment Kaysan had given me, and tightly in my hand I kept my head down, but I peeked outside. I saw a white dress fluttering in the breeze. It was moving along with the van. It was Hachishaku-sama, who was outside the window, but she was moving along with the van. It was Haki. She was outside the window, but she was keeping pace with the van. She suddenly bent down and peered into the van. "No!" I gasped. The man beside me shouted, "Close your eyes!" I immediately shut my eyes as hard as I could and tightened my grip on the piece of parchment. Then the tapping began. Tap, 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 tap. The voice became louder. Pup, 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 pup. There was tapping on the windows all around us. All the men in the van were startled and on edge, muttering nervously to themselves. The men in the van were, what is it? Okay, to themselves. They couldn't see 8 foot tall, and they couldn't hear her voice, but they could hear the tapping on the windows. Kaysan started praying louder and louder until she was almost shouting. The tension inside the van was unbearable. After a while, the tapping stopped and the voice disappeared. Kaysan looked back at us and said, "I think we're safe now." All of the men around me breathed a sigh of relief. The van pulled over to the side of the road and the men got out. They transferred me into my dad's car. My mother held me close, and tears were running down her cheeks. Grandma and grandpa and no, grandma and my father bowed to the men and they went on their way. Kaysan came to the window and asked me to show her the piece of parchment she had given me. When I opened my hand, I saw it had gone completely black. "I think you will be okay," she said, "but just to be sure, hold on to this for a while." She handed me a new piece of parchment. After that, we drove straight to the airport, and Grandpa saw us safely on the plane. When we took off, my parents breathed a sigh of relief. My father told me he had heard about 8 foot tall before. Years ago, his friends had been liked by her. The boy disappeared and was never seen again. My father said there were other people who had been liked by her and lived to tell about it. They all had to leave Japan and settle down in foreign countries. They were never able to go back to their homeland. She always chooses children as her victims. They say it's because children are dependent on their parents and family members. This makes them easier to deceive when she poses as their relatives. He said the men in the van were all blood relatives of mine, and that's why they had been sitting all around me. and why my father and grandpa had been driving in front and in the back. It was all done to try and confuse Hachihaku-sama. It took a while to contact everyone and get them all together. So that was why I had to be confined in a room all night. He told me that one of the little Jitsu statues, the ones that were meant to keep her trapped, had been broken, and that was how she escaped. It gave me the chills. I was glad when we finally got back home. All of this happened more than 10 years ago. I haven't seen my grandparents since then. I haven't been able to so much as set foot in the country. Afterwards, I should call them every every few weeks and talk to them on the phone. Over the years, I tried to convince myself that it was just an urban legend, that everything that happened was just some elaborate prank. But sometimes I'm not sure. My grandfather died 2 years ago when he was sick. He wouldn't allow me to visit him, and he left strict instructions in his will that I wasn't to attend his funeral. It was all very sad. My grandmother called few days ago. She said that she had been diagnosed with cancer. She missed me terribly and wanted to see me one last time before she died. Are you sure, Grandma? I asked. Is it safe? It's been 10 years. She said, all that happened a long time ago. It's all forgotten. You're all grown up now. I'm sure there won't be problems. But, but what about Shaku-sama? I said. For a moment, there was silence on the other end of the phone. Then I heard a deep, masculine voice saying, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." Wow. He got a call from the 8 foot tall lady. Whoa, everybody's here. Small. That BS death wasn't Gramps. Yeah, no, it wasn't. What happened? Oh, so I was reading the story of the 8 foot tall lady, but how about we watch it now? Watch somebody else. Maybe it'll be a different account. Give me a second. What do we got? Oh, let's go. Why can't I open the Discord? Oh man, I gotta reset my computer. Discord's not opening. Okay, let's try this video. This one that came here. Any subs? Nope, no subs. Here we go, guys.
In the summer of 1970,
Can everybody hear it?
An 8-year-old girl from Tokyo, and her parents traveled to the small town of Aya in Miyazaki Prefecture to visit her grandparents. They had a small house on a large property which Kana reveled in running around and exploring the lush green and overgrown countryside. Kana's parents had left her in the care of her grandparents as they tended to some commitments in the city of Miyazaki itself, which Kana did not mind at all. She loved the freedom of being in the wide open spaces outdoors and would disappear for hours into the surrounding forest. It was on the second day her parents were gone that Kana had her first unfortunate encounter with Hachishaku-sama, the 8-foot-tall lady. Kana was just inside the edge of the forest, happily collecting rocks to take back as souvenirs, when she heard a disturbing sound. Po, 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 po. It whispered in a deep masculine voice. Kana looked up towards the source of the sound and froze in fear when she saw a huge woman dressed in all white, with hair as black as a raven, a cold grey face with an unsettling smile, and a huge hat that cast a shadow all the way down her long, 8-foot-tall frame. Kana and the woman locked eyes briefly as Kana tried to find her voice to call out, but she could barely breathe, let alone make a sound. Then the woman backed away and disappeared into the dark shadows of the forest behind her. Kana, struggling to get her legs to work properly, ran back to the farmhouse immediately and told her grandma what she had seen. Once Kana's story had been properly relayed and the gravity of the situation set in, her grandma's demeanor quickly became deadly serious. She grabbed Kana by the arms and demanded to know exactly what she had seen and heard. As Kana explained, her grandma began to weep. The grandmother quickly relayed what had happened to her husband, who, in shock, rushed to the phone to try and contact Kana's parents. They were not at their hotel, and so a message was left with the concierge. Kana, now scared and confused, asked what was going on and why everyone seemed to be in such a panic. Her grandfather sat her down and stared deep into her eyes. "Listen closely, Kana," he started. "It seems you've been chosen by Hachishaku-sama, and unless we can protect you, she will abduct you, like she did several other children in this area, decades ago." Kana was now in tears. What she had just been told terrified her, yet she couldn't help but want to know more. "Who is Hachishaku-sama?" she then asked. Her grandfather went on to explain. "No one knows her origins," he said. "Only that this 8-foot woman selects her victims by quietly approaching them, then chanting a po, 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 po sound before retreating. Within a few days, that person will disappear." She was supposedly captured by some local monks who imprisoned her in an old shrine by placing a Jizo statue at north, south, east, and west points of the ruins. It appeared, however, that somehow Hachishaku-sama has escaped. Kana was then taken into the most secure room in the house. The windows were boarded up, and small bowls of pure salt were placed in each corner of the room. "You must not leave this room, not under any circumstances," her grandmother strictly instructed. "Never?" Kana's voice trembled. "Not until your parents return to take you home," she replied. "Then I'll be safe?" Kana asked. "Yes," her grandmother sighed as her gaze dropped to the floor. "Then you'll be safe. However, you can never ever return to Miyazaki." Kana began to cry as her grandmother left the room. "Don't leave me," she wailed. Her grandma explained that she could not stay within the room, and for Kana to be sure to lock the door once it was closed. Night fell over the countryside, and Kana, alone and cold in the dimly lit room, sobbed quietly, wondering when her parents would return to take her home.
Oh, man.
Several hours into the cold night, she heard her grandfather call out to her, "Kana, are you okay? If you're scared, I can come in to keep you company. You don't have to be all alone. Open the door," he said. Kana leapt up and moved over to the door to unlock it. but then was overcome with an icy chill as she approached and
Yeah,
realized
don't
that
do it.
something was wrong. Her grandfather's voice was somehow different. Open up, the grandfather asked again. It's safe now. Kana looked to her side, and she could see the salt in the bowl slowly turning black as she heard the sound. Pull, 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 emanating from the other side of the door. She backed away into the center of the room and cried uncontrollably for the rest of the night. Morning eventually arrived, and so did Kana's parents, who quickly took her into their arms and into their car. They exited Miyazaki immediately, sadly, never to return. Once back in Tokyo, Kana kept in touch with her grandparents, and she felt an eternal sorrow that she would never be able to visit them again, and that they were too elderly to travel. This sorrow was even further amplified when several years later, her grandfather passed away, and she was unable to attend his funeral. Then, just last week, Kana's grandmother called to give her some terrible news. She had been diagnosed with cancer. Her grandmother then asked Kana if she would come see her one last time before she died. Kana was confused. But, Grandma, she started, it's not safe. It's fine, her grandmother went on. That all happened a long time ago. You're all grown up now. I'm sure it will be fine. Are you sure? Kana asked. I'm sure, came the reply, along with the bone-chilling pull, 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 which made Kana drop the phone, retreat into the corner of the room, and relive the horrific feelings she had felt that night when she was in her grandparents' home, alone in the dark.
Dang. All right, well, guys, thank you everyone for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you so much. Have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. So, all right, see you later, Archer. Take care, buddy. All right. Thank you. All right. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.